Hello, family. I'm so excited to be here with you today, introducing a new theme for the month of March. Last month, we talked all about parenting and families. And so this month, it is also fitting during Women's History Month that we talk about Black women. So I want to introduce to you the theme of this month, theme number 2 in our series. And our theme is entitled The Dangerous Myth of the Strong Black Woman. And so for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be talking about topics impacting the Black woman. This month is Women's History Month. And during this month, we celebrate and commemorate the accomplishments and the vital role of women in America. And absolutely not could we celebrate Women's History Month without talking about the Black woman who has played such a pivotal role in the shaping of our country. So here are our 4 topics. Topic number 1 in our series: the Black woman, she who wears many hats. Session 2, anxiety and depression in Black women. Session 3, embracing natural hair in the workplace and everywhere else. And session 4, prioritizing self-care, how to put you on your to-do list. So I'm so excited to present those topics to you for the next 4 weeks. Please join me to have these very important discussions. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and be well. Hi, family. I am so excited to come to you today talking about our session 1 topic under the theme 2 of our month, the month of March, the dangerous myth of the strong Black woman. Today's session, we are going to specifically discuss the Black woman, she who wears many hats. So we're going to get started with our presentation. Okay. So once again, the Black woman, she who wears many hats, and I am going to introduce myself. My name is Quanisha Johnson. I'm a licensed counselor and educator, and I always start off saying I'm so excited. I love, I love this topic specifically. It hits very close to home for me, and there is a lot to talk about today. So let's get it started. So here we have this important topic, the Black woman, she who wears many hats, and how fitting than a Black woman who's wearing a hat, and I'm wearing one today too as well. So Black women, as we can see, wear many hats, figuratively and literally, right? Black women are mothers. Black women are friends. Black women are daughters. Black women are entrepreneurs, partners and spouses, employees, and of course, Black women are friends. Our roles that we play, they have roles within the roles, right? And so with the pandemic, for example, we have seen an increase in our role, and it's made things that were already challenging even more challenging. So when I say role within a role, as you can see, at the top of these pictures, we have a mom and her child. So because of what we're going through right now with our global pandemic, a mom now is stretching herself extremely thin because she is not only working from home, and in some cases tending to her children. So she's playing a role within the role. So the child is learning from their computer, but the mother now is stepping up into a different role to make sure that academically her children are successful. She is playing, like I said, the role within a role because she no longer sends her children to school to be taught by teachers, but she's also helping them academically, preparing the lunches at lunchtime. So she's the lunch lady. She is the teacher. She's the employee all at once. So it's very important that we understand that the hat wearing means that there are so many roles and responsibilities and roles within the roles for Black women. So ask yourself, and I ask myself this question, and the answer, I don't even know what the answer is. There's so many. So how many hats are you wearing? So Black women, we know how to multitask, right? So I cannot explain personally the feeling that I get when I am multitasking and I am cooking dinner and I've cornrowed my daughter's hair or washed it and you know made her look all beautiful. Finish a presentation for work such as this, and watched a movie with my husband all in that day, right? How I feel when I am wearing my many hats in a day. When I'm doing all of these different things and sometimes literally all at once. When I am literally putting the dinner in the oven while I'm deep conditioning the hair, and then I have the movie on and I'm going from place to place to place and moving and doing different things. And for some reason, I feel this sense of accomplishment, a sense of joy from tending to all of my roles for my family, for work. And so it's very important to understand this concept. Although we wear so many different hats and we have so many different responsibilities, you can wear many hats, but remember, you only have one head. There is only one of us. There's only one of us. And like I said, it is amazing to feel accomplished, like you're getting everything done. But even if you listen to the list I rolled off of what I get done, I didn't name anything in particular for myself. My pride and my sense of accomplishment was through how I was supporting others and doing things for others. And so I just want you to keep in mind as a Black woman that it is great to be able to fulfill all of the responsibilities that you're passionate about in your life, but you only have one you, and don't forget that. So our answer, sometimes when I think about um, doing all of these different responsibilities, and I ask the question to you, how many hats are you wearing? And remembering there's only one you, the response from many women may be, but I can handle it because I am a strong Black woman. And for many of us, we wear this as a badge of honor. We can do all things. We can wear our hats, pile them on top, right? And not flinch, right? Or at least that's what it looks like. So when we think about strong, we want to talk about what does that look like? What does it mean to be strong? And so what I traditionally do when I come and talk to you, I like to define things or even look up how these words are defined in our society. What are dictionary definitions? What are we finding online to define it, which gives us a certain meaning that may not necessarily always adhere to our lifestyles, to who we are. And so I looked up the word strong and I wanted to know, what does it mean actually for us to be strong? And so there were multiple definitions, but I picked out a few that I thought I wanted to dissect a little bit. So we had the word strong. Strong was defined by the dictionary as possessing skills and qualities that create a likelihood of success. So when we think about the skills and qualities and how hard we work, of course, we're wanting to do all these things and feel successful, right? Feel a sense of accomplishment, right? And so the next definition said, able to withstand great force or pressure. So I thought about us as Black women and how, and we'll talk more about this as we go on today, how this definition holds true to what people think of us, that we are able to withstand great force and pressure, right? We're able to do that. And so this definition, we have to be very careful with it because this is sometimes what is thought about us, that we can have everything piled on top of us. We can take it because we're strong. And so it can be dangerous. And that's why the theme is the dangerous myth of the strong Black woman. Not easily disturbed, upset, or affected. This is another part of the definition that I want to dissect. So to be strong, are we saying that if I'm strong, that means things don't bother me or disturb me? I can't become upset or I'm not impacted? And there lies the problem once again. When we're walking around and we're wearing that badge of honor, we want to be mindful of the representation that society gives it, right? That the correlation of strong and not easily disturbed, strong and not being upset, strong and not being affected. And there's inaccuracy in that. Likely to succeed because of sound reasoning or convincing evidence. And so, how I'm going to look at that definition as Black women, our story is so unique and complex. And so we work hard, we take care of our families, we wear our many hats, our roles, our responsibilities. And sometimes we feel as though no matter what we're doing, we struggle to feel successful because society tells us or puts barriers up to get in the way of that. So although we're doing these things, and sometimes there's a correlation between if I'm strong, I keep holding on, I keep pushing forward, I'm likely to be successful. So there's disappointments in that when there's barriers outside, racism, sexism, right? Because we have to remember Black women and intersectionality. So when we're talking about intersectionality as Black women, we're talking about being Black and dealing with what comes along with being Black. We're dealing with being a woman and what comes along being that. And that's, we can intersection that. That doesn't always go hand in hand. There are different nuances to each area. And so the challenge in saying I'm strong and being strong and loading myself up with everything and not wanting to present as disturbed, upset, or affected, the correlation of if I do those things, then I'm successful. We often have barriers that get in the way of that. And that's our struggle sometimes. Powerfully affecting the mind, senses, or emotions. And when I look at that, I think being strong does powerfully affect our minds, how we perceive life, how we feel, having to walk around with that title and what it means for us, how it impacts how we feel, how being strong impacts how we express ourselves. And so I did this to show this is what is presented about strong. And I think very, very much so in society, able to withstand great force or pressure, not easily disturbed, upset, or affected. I think those two definitions can become very problematic and dangerous. So the origins of the SBW stereotype, and when you see SBW, what we're talking about is the strong Black woman. And once again, I am going to just reiterate that we are not saying that we can't be strong and that we're not strong. Absolutely not. That is not the purpose. It's everything else that goes along with strong, which we'll talk about more and more. And we'll build on this idea that we do wear many hats. We do have many responsibilities. And it's important to note how we're using strong. We don't want to use the word strong in a harmful way. So where did this strong Black woman stereotype originate or come from? So if we look back, this narrative basically emerged during slavery to justify our enslavement, right? So ultimately it goes back. It's not a current thing. It goes way back, the stereotype of it all. Black women, we endured so much. So thinking about the idea of enduring being separated from your children. So we talked about in theme one, how being separated, how families were broken apart and the impact on that of families being separated and the diversity of the Black family and how we went through those things and how it shaped us through time. And we talked about intergenerational patterns. And so Black women enduring that, being beaten, being raped, and watching our men being beaten, being emasculated. So we've endured so many different things. So basically the justification, in order to do these things, we have to dehumanize them. at every cost, Black women, Black people in general, but today we're specifically talking about the Black woman, were treated like they were not humans, that they could just take anything. All of these things I named today. So going back to that time of withstanding and enduring all of those things, withstanding all of the pain and the suffering and having to keep going every single day, and someone dehumanizing you, right? Treating you this way and justifying it by saying, you're not human. We can do these things to you and beat you down and break you down. And so it comes from the origin of that. It starts there with we're so strong, and we are. We are so strong. We are absolutely, and this is a truth, we are resilient and we have persevered from that time going down before slavery, resilient and enduring. But the myth of it all is that Black women do not possess superhuman strength. We are still human. We are still human beings. We still have pain. We still have suffering. And so we are not devoid of those things. So wearing the badge of honor of being strong, we have to be mindful that we are still human. And a human quality, no matter what your race, your nationality, your ethnicity, is that we go through suffering, we hurt, we have pain. No matter what your circumstance in life, you will experience that at some point in your life. And we all deserve empathy for those things. And we deserve support and we deserve love. So although resilient, and although we have persevered, that we do not possess superhuman strength. This is not a Marvel movie, right? This is not one of those characters that we're discussing. We still are human beings. And so just because we've gone through those things, it doesn't mean we can just take it, just keep piling on top and piling on top. And sometimes as a Black woman, that's how it feels for us. That the world, society feels as though we've endured so much, instead of using that as a positivity, using it to oppress us, to just keep giving us more and say they can take it, they got it, keep throwing it on them. So I started there with the stereotype and how it was built, right? And so ultimately the expectation of us doing that, it keeps going. So Black women are expected to be strong. You're strong. I've often heard us described that way. We're immune to obstacles and pain. We can take anything. We can deal with anything, and we'll be okay. And we are self-sacrificing. And what that means is that we don't have to take care of yourself. Just take care of others. And so that expectation is there to do that always. And able to withstand society's abuse against us. And that no matter what is piled up on top of us, you grin and bear it. You deal with it. You'll be okay. You'll be all right. They'll be fine. And so that expectation keeps going. That pressure is still built on top of us. And I want to highlight immune to obstacles and pain from what I said during the last slide in reference to being human. And every human being at some point in life will experience an obstacle and feels pain. That is something, no matter what, we will all experience. And so we are not able to withstand. We don't want society to keep piling things on top of us because we could take it. They can take it. And that we don't have to just like grin and bear it and wear the S on our chest and be a superwoman and have superhuman strength because we're human beings. Resilient and strong, but human beings. So through research and just through experience of being a Black woman and watching movies and watching television and now being online, I want to just talk and touch a little bit on Black women and the media. So we have ultimately this stereotype created, right? In order for us initially, like I said, to be enslaved, there had to be some type of justification, right? They dehumanized us. We had to deal with so many different things. And so through time, we see certain images of us portrayed in the media. And let's talk a little bit about that. So we have seen over the years in the beginning, the mammy stereotype, the Jezebel stereotype, and the sapphire stereotype. All three personas are false representation of the Black woman. And I will touch a little bit on each one. The mammy, um, if you see the character in movies, the mammy is tending to the white family. We talked about in the last slides being self-sacrificing, and her entire world being based upon taking care of that white family that she served and being happy to do it in a sense of joy. And we never see in those movies them being human and having feelings and tending to their own families. We just see them feeling such great pride and caring for that white family. Then we have the Jezebel. So then over through time in media, we see the Black woman portrayed as a sexualized being, a seductress, right? And so we see that. And then we go into seeing Black woman portrayed as this sapphire character. And she sometimes in movies will see loud, and she's stubborn and overbearing, and what many describe in some of the media roles as the angry Black woman, which we often get attached to our name. So it's these labels that we get. And the media, when we see these things in the media, these false representations, it plays out. So you think about art and life and the art imitating life situation, and we can flip it around, life imitating art. So sometimes think about what we talked about the misconception of the word strong and Black woman. And so how that's played out, how society has created something or perpetuated something, right? So ultimately, if you are watching movies, if you're online, if you're taking in your media and you see these characters, it gives a false representation of us. And I remember a few years ago when I worked for a school, and in my situation, I was probably one of maybe two Black women in the school, in the entire school working there. And I worked as a counselor. And I remember an incident where we were in a meeting, and we were discussing a student, and I said I would, of the staff members involved in the meeting, to come up with resources for the student. I volunteered in my role as a counselor to reach out to the parent, and remembering the response from one of my white counterparts, one of the other teachers, because I just said, I'll do it. Oh, I got it. I will call that parent. Because in many cases, staff would be hesitant to call parents, nervous about it. And I always felt like it was a part of the process of educating to have relationship with families. So immediately I offered to call, and that teacher said, oh, go you're so sassy. And I didn't understand the correlation between me advocating for a student, standing up and saying I would do something, and labeling me as sassy. So oftentimes over the years, I would hear that association with Black women and sassiness. So the reason I stopped to give that story and touch on the media is that if we're talking about the origin of the stereotype, and society perpetuating something, and people watching that and looking at that, and taking that in, and then in their lives. So this woman calling me sassy, there was no connection or correlation between what I chose to do and sassiness. So being mindful of the stereotypes, the representation, and us wearing our many hats and our roles, the roles, the ideas, the stereotypes that are put on us, that put this pressure. So I will admit, when I was called sassy, it made me very mindful of how I spoke, how I carried myself, because in all that I did not want to be associated with being sassy, just being my regular self. And I know when I'm being sassy and I was not being sassy. So just being mindful as a Black woman of what they say we are, who they say we are, and how we are sometimes harming ourselves, trying to work so hard to fight against that in a way where, or presenting ourselves in this strong way, like doesn't impact us, and how that can be harmful over time. Just their labels. So just being mindful of media. And so in many cases, these representations that I just laid out to you, we have as an answer to that. So the media creates the answer to these labels. The media perpetuates more. If you look at it, they now more characters that are strong. So I want you to take even a second as I'm speaking and think about all of the roles, the movies where now maybe we don't see this as much, but we see a Black woman showing up as strong. But then I challenge you to think about, because we're watching from home, the struggles behind the scenes, right? What they have to endure to continue with that label, to wear the S on their chest. So how the media perpetuates these labels and stereotypes. So the answer being the strong Black woman. So now, as I said before, we take this narrative, right? And how do we use it? How do we take this narrative, this strong Black woman idea, and what do we do with it that is problematic? So there have been countless research and studies done just specifically to discuss and look into the idea of the strong Black woman. So Dr. Cheryl Gascombe, a psychiatric nurse, she created the SWB, the strong Black woman schema. And there are 5 characteristics that she came up with. So with the strong Black woman schema, there is a perceived obligation to present an image of strength. So perceived, that we have to present this image, that it's not organic. You know, when I spoke of earlier, wanting to care for my family and wanting to cook for them, make sure my daughter's hair is combed and done, and spend time with my husband, and do all those things and feel that sense of accomplishment and pride and joy. But that's very different than that perceived obligation of, we have to present this, that like the way to survive and make it through as a Black woman is to present this image of strength. So it's a presentation. So we're putting on, think about just getting up every day and feeling like I have to put a presentation on. That is very different. It's not as organic when you're feeling like, in terms of survival mode and making it in success, that I have to present this image of being this strong person, even when I don't feel like it. There's a perceived obligation, as Dr. Gascombe discusses in her research, to suppress and hold back emotion. So I think I want to highlight this, the suppression of emotion, because once again, we're not saying strong is a bad thing. It's when I have to present this, I feel like I have to do this. And in order for me to present as strong, I cannot simultaneously show or express emotion. I can't. I have to do one or the other. Then we have a resistance to vulnerability and dependence on help from others, right? So we don't want to be vulnerable, and we don't want to feel like we depend on anyone. Then we have a motivation to succeed despite help from others. I don't need anyone. I can do this. I am driven. I'm motivated. I want to succeed, and I don't need any support or help from other people. Another problematic idea. I love the idea of being motivated to be successful, but the idea of I don't need anyone to support me and help me is where that's problematic. And lastly, prioritization to caregiving and not balancing that with self-care. So I am caring for others, which is beautiful. It is a great thing to do, but I'm not balancing that with care for myself. And therein lies the issue. So how are we using this strong? So this is when we're using it where it is harmful to us. We want to make sure that we're caring for others, but we have to, it's imperative to care for ourselves. Doing all of this, it's harming us, literally. It's harmful. The presentation, the work to present a self every single day. My example earlier with the sassiness, that comment may seem, that story, it may seem like minutia in the whole scheme of what we're talking about, but it made me think of, and this was many years ago, of like being so conscious of how I'm presenting myself when I go into work. Because remember, I was in an environment where people didn't look like me. So going in every day and having to present a person and feeling a certain way some days, but presenting something. And so what Dr. Gascombe described, those characteristics are harmful. How so? So Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy complications than white women. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to suffer from a severe disability from childbirth than white women. I can even think of the example of, for these points about pregnancy complications, and I won't go into detail. Serena Williams, the great tennis player, discussed her situation, and not with her having her daughter, and the issue of just struggling and not being able to get the care or being believed, that the care, and there's countless women who have these stories, and some women, sadly, there is mortality. Some women have stories about their situation with childbirth and the pregnancy complications and not receiving adequate care, and they have lived to tell the story, but many have not. And so what's interesting is, in knowing this, in many cases, it's not a socioeconomic thing, like there was not access because of insurance. It's across the board. So when we say 3 to 4 times more likely to die, these are women we're talking about in many cases that are higher on the socioeconomic level, middle class and up. So in relation to white women who may have lack of access to care because of financial purposes and because of insurance. So it doesn't even correlate with that necessarily. So it's the idea of, like I said earlier, not receiving adequate care and feeling as though there are many situations where I talk to Black women who have had so many experiences with going to the doctor and feeling like they're not believed, or that it's downplayed, or that they're asking for something or for care and not receiving it. This example is the minimal government research funding for uterine fibroids. Who disproportionately suffers from uterine fibroids? Us, Black women. So there's minimal research about it for the care of women with these situations. So what's the correlation? Is there a correlation? I believe so. Black women have reported healthcare professionals not taking their concerns seriously, and that's what I just discussed. Not taking what they have to say seriously. So think about what happens if you're going to someone to receive care and you trust that they're there to give that, and you don't receive that. And in many cases, as I stated a few minutes ago, on countless occasions, what happens? You don't want to go to the professionals anymore. So now you're underreporting your symptoms. You're holding back. You're choosing, you're having an issue, but you're saying it's not going to help anyway. So then you're not going to the doctor. You're not going to the therapist. You're not going to get the care that you need if you feel as though you have situations where you're not being taken seriously. Black women experience biological wear and tear from the chronic stress. And we will talk about chronic stress and how damaging it is, and how, when we say harmful, how harmful it is to the body. There is wear and tear. More than half of Black women over the age of 20 years old are obese. And there's more. I wish I could stop there. Black women are more prone to develop high blood pressure. More than half of Black women, as we stated, are over 20 are obese. Black women are more likely to die from breast cancer. And that, once again, goes back to what I said earlier. That is attributed to the delayed healthcare seeking. So knowing or being in a situation where you're feeling as though the healthcare is not adequate, you're not getting what you need, underreporting symptoms, not going consistently to the doctor. And so the reasons or the correlation between dying from breast cancer is because of the delay, right? We know how important, how integral it is with cancer in itself to detect early. So when we prolong our care and we don't go to the doctor the way that we need to go to, we are we're harming ourselves once again, literally. So taking on that identity is not sustainable. It is not something that you are able to do long term, right? You're not able to, for a long period of time, not report your symptoms, walk around feeling like I'm okay, suppressing emotions, putting that presentation on every day, and feeling like I have no choice. If I want to make it, I have to present this person. Dealing with chronic stress, so not sustainable. This identity is not sustainable. So what do we want to do? What do we need to do? So important. First and foremost, we must prioritize our self-care. And I know it is starting to sound, you hear it so much. It sounds, like something that people are just saying, take care of yourself, self-care, practice self-care. And we don't really know how to do that. And learning how to do that is so important. So it is the whole idea and concept that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to keep your cup full. You can't pour from empty. You cannot pour anything from empty. If someone's thirsty, right, and they ask you for something to drink, but you don't have anything to drink, what can you give them? So we have the idea that it's the other way around. So we talk about with this strong Black woman idea that I have to maintain this identity, suppress my emotions, not say how I'm feeling, just deal with it. That we do that. We care. We prioritize caring for others. Once again, which is beautiful. Care for your family, care for your partner. Remember the hat, be a great friend, be a great daughter, be a great employee, entrepreneur, wherever you are. We wear many hats, be all of those things. But how do we have the energy, the wherewithal, everything to put into those things when we are empty? So that badge of honor, so strong is beautiful. But if we wear that badge of honor and we drain ourselves and we give nothing to ourselves, we don't have enough to give. And sometimes we think we're giving something and we're not giving anything adequate because we've sucked ourselves dry. There's nothing there. There is nothing there. So thinking about the word strong, strength is asking yourself what you need and giving it to yourself. So what I often tell or talk to my clients about is the idea of doing a self-care check-in daily. So when you do a self-care check-in, we might get up in the morning and know everything that we need to do. That's why people often tell me that they open their eyes, they grab their phones immediately, and they are checking, what do I have to do for work today? What's on the lunch menu for school? Because this is the day my child goes for the hybrid program, and they're there these 2 days. And we're immediately upon opening our eyes, we're thinking about everything that we have to do for everyone else. Everything. So when we're thinking about strong, yes, you absolutely can think about all the things that you have to do for the people you care about, for the things that are important in your life. Your work's important. It is. You know, you have to live. We pay bills. But the strength is doing that check-in, is when you get up in the morning, instead of going to that, because those things will be there 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later. They're not going, your duties for the day don't leave because you don't put them number one. So just when I'm talking about that self-care check-in, as soon as you get up, right? You're checking in with you. When I get up, I assess, I say, Quanisha, how are you feeling? I'm checking on myself physically. You ever slept incorrectly? Your neck hurts. I'm checking in with that. I've woken up and I've like been stiff and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I just slept wrong. I'm checking in. What do I need to do? Do I need a heating pad? I'm adhering, because if I'm achy and I don't feel good, how am I caring for the people I love? How? If I'm waking up and I'm feeling like, a little down, or I'm like, maybe I had a dream that didn't sit well, but I'm checking in with myself. I'm saying, oh, why do I wake up feeling like this? Why do I? Was it something that I was thinking about the day before that I woke up? But I'm checking in. I'm asking myself, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to adhere to my needs before I go off and make sure that everyone else is good? So a lot of times when women are feeling as though they are maintaining that role, wearing that hat, putting that S on their chest, I'm that strong Black woman, that they don't need to adhere to their own personal needs. And that's absolutely not what's going to bring us success, sustain us, and keep us healthy at all. So when you think about prioritizing self-care, it has to be that radical type, right? We got to do what we need to do, have different tools in the toolbox. And so I'm not talking about the self-care, that's the spa, go for it if you do that. It is just adhering, that self-check-in, my basic needs. My basic needs are met. I'm making sure I am doing that. And I am not putting that, not even sometimes last on the list, but sometimes as Black women, it's not on the list at all. By the time we get to us, the cup's empty and there's nothing there. So I'm encouraging today for everyone listening under the sound of my voice, to make sure that you are doing that self-care check-in. Check in with you and see how you're doing. We want to make sure we are reevaluating certain terms. So we have this term of independence. So we're looking at the word independent, and we're taking this word and we are running with it. And we've taken independent to mean, and I'm telling you, in many cases, when I'm asking people to describe themselves, one of the first words they use is, I'm independent. And I think we are just we're as Black women conditioned, right? To feel as though we are independent and we don't need anyone. It goes together. And so we're walking around with that badge of honor of feeling like, who do I need? And so we want to reevaluate terms. And so we want to look at independent versus dependent. So when we think about independent, we feel as though we want to not have others be under control of who we are and what we are. And that for dependent, we're thinking about what I need to do, how I need to care for myself. It cannot be contingent or determined by somebody else. So there's nothing wrong with being independent and working hard and making sure that you have what you need to sustain yourself. But it is okay to depend in a way on others. Let's take away that term in general, the independent. I think about in our community, I think about us being interdependent. Let's think of that. So we are looking at the idea of a mutual reliance. So we don't have to, it's not a standalone thing. So often we are looking at this strong Black woman stereotype and this schema, and we're like independent. If I'm this Black woman, I can handle everything. I suppress my emotions. I can't let people see me sweat. I can't allow. I remember learning that, like that phrase, being taught, never let them see you sweat. problematic it can be. And I understand that where it comes from and what it means now. I get it. But you have to be careful in these messages, these things that we tell our especially young Black girls growing up. So we're shifting the idea of interdependence and it's mutual reliance. Although I might need someone to help me with something, people need me to help them with something as well. So in our community, we think about the village mindset. Even think about raising children, the village. It takes a village. We're relying on one another. It's not, I don't need you, you don't need me. We need each other in different ways. And because I need someone to support me and help me, it doesn't mean I'm not dependent, that I'm dependent or I'm not independent, right? We need one another. So if we reframe it in that way, that we're not dependent necessarily, we're interdependent. So although I might ask or need from person A, person C may need me for something. And that's just the way it goes. We have to reframe this thinking about independent, meaning I don't need anything from anyone else. And that is inaccurate. Because once again, earlier we talked about to be human means to experience pain, to feel pain, whether it be physical, whether it be mental, emotional. We all experience that no matter where you're from, what your walk of life is, you will experience that. Of course, we want joy with that. Because two things can be true. I always say that phrase. I know in my life that I experience pain, but I also know I experience such great joy. So let's reframe and challenge that idea, that concept of we have to be independent, and that means that we don't need anyone else. Then we want to look at the concept. If we're reevaluating strong Black woman, right? We're not tossing strong away. We're not. Because if we think of the term, we're not tossing away strong. We're Black, that's not changing. And we're a woman, we're not changing that either. So if we break each one down, we're not tossing any of this away. We are looking at it at a different light. We're reevaluating how we see it. So vulnerability. And so when I think of vulnerability, I think about it's okay to show how you feel. It's okay to understand the concept that we all have pain, we all suffer, it's the human condition. We all will go through something. And that because of the color of my skin and because of what I historically have witnessed, my ancestors witnessed, it doesn't mean because of that I can't experience pain and I can't express it and I can't let someone know that I need help or that I'm having a hard time. Yes, I'm cooking dinner in my house. And yes, I'm cleaning and taking care of things. Yes, I'm working hard in my business, but I also get sad. And I don't have to toss away, I get sad because I do the other things. That my vulnerability is, in a way, my connector to other people. Someone may not tell you they're vulnerable. It doesn't mean that they don't feel the vulnerabilities. Doesn't mean that they may not express it or show it, but we all are vulnerable in some way, or form or fashion. So we want to reevaluate how we see things when we're walking around with this label of strong Black woman, just reevaluating the dependence part, vulnerability. And earlier I said I would talk a little bit about chronic stress. We want to, like, if I covered up the word chronic and we saw stress, of course, we all experience stress because with your many hats that you're wearing, it's stressful. You're running around. You're trying to do all of these things. We're trying to multitask. Multitasking. We wear that too and go, oh, we're multitasking. We can to a degree, right? There's certain things you can do simultaneously, absolutely, and there are other things that you cannot. And so ultimately, we want to be mindful of that. But so we don't want to cover up chronic part because that is where it's problematic. We don't want to just say, oh, we're going to just experience stress. Everyone, has a lot to do, a lot of roles. We don't want the chronic stress. We want to address this presentation that we feel that we have to have as a Black woman. And like I said earlier, for many reasons, because we got to go out in the world and deal with the racism, the sexism, the stereotypes, the presentations, right? And ultimately, the chronic stress, though, is hurtful. It's harmful to us. It's that prolonged stress. So we can talk about it very basically in the sense of when we're experiencing chronic stress like over and over again, prolongs, not day-to-day things that happen, like you spill your coffee on your white shirt, right? That stresses you, you got to change, works in a few minutes. When we're experiencing this chronic stress, this prolonged, so stress, we produce a hormone called cortisol, right? Cortisol basically over time is not healthy for our bodies. It is harmful to our bodies to produce this hormone. And so what do we see as a result? We see um, in Black women high incidences of heart disease. Heart disease. We see obesity as a result of this prolonged stress, this long-term exposure to the cortisol hormone. And we see the heart disease, the obesity, anxiety, depression. And so it, as I said earlier, is harming us. It literally is killing us. It literally is killing us. Because heart disease, we know the stats on heart disease, right? And so ultimately, we want to reevaluate the stress, the chronic stress. And suppression, internalizing that stress, no good, no good. So we want to look at it in a different light. We also want to reevaluate this idea of strength. Once again, I am reiterating that it is not bad to be strong. It is not. But strong does not mean excessive working, excessive caregiving, zero self-care. The more that I keep on doing for others, presenting this person, suppressing my emotions, not telling people how I'm feeling, that's not strong. We are resilient. We have persevered. Absolutely, we have. But we don't want this idea to perpetuate this idea that strong means that everything's everything. That I am presenting this person and I don't feel anything, and that I can take a licking and keep on ticking. That the world, society can beat me down, pile on top of me, and feel as though she's all right. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. We don't want as Black women to perpetuate that. If society is putting that burden on us, we don't want to take it. I don't want it. If society's giving me that and saying to be a Black woman, I got to keep piling on you. This is what you need to do. I don't want that. I'm not going to take that. So we want to lighten our burden, and we want to make sure we're looking at strong in a light that is healthy for us. That is healthy for us. So support is necessary and non-negotiable. So we need support. And as I told you earlier, I'm a licensed counselor. And so it brings me great joy, and I love my work. And so if you're needing to, we talked about earlier about independence and needing each other. And so we can't say that to be a strong Black woman means that I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't need any help. And I'm just going to keep going, keep piling on top of myself and keep going. So if you're in need, support is okay. We cannot negotiate it. You have to decide what type of support that you're in need of. And we all need different types. We're not monolithic in our thought process and who we are and what we believe. And so the important part of that self-care check-in I talked about earlier is a self-care check-in. You're checking in with self to see what you're in need of. And we're all in need of something different. So if you're in need to talk to a professional, please do so. There are so many resources in terms of this. And we are absolutely seeing, I know I'm seeing an increase of Black women seeking out mental health support. Long time coming, right? And so just ultimately knowing that, and the whole idea of seeking someone, if someone doesn't fit with you, like if that they are not giving you the support that you need, that's okay. There's more of us. There's more of us. And so ultimately it's about you finding the right fit, the person that is going to support you and give you what you're needing. So I don't want anyone to feel as though they've had a bad experience or allowing the media to perpetuate this idea of what getting help from a professional looks like. It is not TV. Oftentimes what you see on television when someone seeks out therapy is inaccurate anyway. So I am just asking everyone that we're not looking at support as something that we don't need. If you're needing to talk to someone, please do not hesitate in doing so. I'm encouraging you to do so. It can be helpful. And of course, my encouragement is to speak to the right person for you that's a good fit for you. Building a support network is so important. And so your support network could look like whatever you need it to look like. So when we're talking about vulnerabilities, it doesn't mean that when my vulnerability means I'm going to go into my job and I'm going to cry to a coworker that I know doesn't support me, that I don't have a friendship or relationship with. So it doesn't mean going around and letting and like just like, you know, showing everyone or telling everyone what your issues are or how you're suffering or your pain. It means building your support network. It means if you're needing support from people, it's people that you trust, people that you know care about you. So it's building that. Is that a family member? Is that a trusted friend? Is that a coworker? Is that someone in your church, in your woman's group? It's different things for different people. Did you find an online group? I was a part of an amazing group last summer, and it was a group that discussed racial trauma, and it was just Black women who happened to be therapists. An amazing support network of Black women who were in the same profession that I was, talking about the impact of racial trauma. Fantastic, so supportive. And although I could do all of those duties and tasks I talked about and wear my many hats, because we do, and wear them very well, we still need support. And so that group was so helpful to me. So if it's within a group, it doesn't matter. It's you deciding when you're checking in, it's asking, that strength is asking yourself, what do you need? And going to seek it and find it. And of course, then you can care for everyone. Do what you need to do. Care for those you love. Absolutely. Outsourcing if and when you can. And when I say outsourcing, I mean, if there's something that someone else could do for you or help you with that will lighten the load or burden a little bit, and they're willing, do that. I had a fantastic neighbor who I was running around, and I love to give personal anecdotes just to say it helps to humanize me to say I'm a person, no matter what, as a professional, I am still a Black woman who has struggles and pain and who's trying to figure everything out as well. So not to make things about me. I like to give practical real life examples. And so my neighbor, I was running around, and my neighbor helped me to drop my daughter to school. She offered, she was helpful, we trusted her. And so that became her now helpful, I outsourced basically. I said, this is something that I'm not able to do right now because of the time I needed to go to work. And I literally was like driving and coming right back, coming back, dropping off, going back to my job, leaving, going. It was a lot. And so my support network said, okay, this person is going to be the source of my help. And so she helps me. She's volunteering to do it. And in that area, instead of saying, oh, I got it, I don't want to depend on her because what if she can't do it? Yeah, those things crossed my mind. But ultimately, it was about, I'm going to figure out if there's something that someone will be willing, she was retired, to help me with, I'm going to allow them to help me. That's where my strength lies. And knowing what I need and what will help me, and still working hard, taking care of my family, all of those great things. But when I need my support, knowing where and how to get it. So I'm asking you to release it all. Let it go. Let all of that go. We're going to work, unlearn, and be. Work to let go of years of unrealistic expectations of who we are. Let it go. We're going to work. It's a process though, because we're conditioned. We're indoctrinated in a lot of ways. And so it's work. And I often tell my clients, like, we got here, how you got here to me, it's not a magic pill. It's work because it took you years to get where you are today. It's going to take some time. We don't want years again, but it's going to take some time to stop some things, to let go of some things. So unlearning behaviors that are harmful, unlearning the idea that strength means I must suppress how I'm feeling. Strength means that I don't need a support network. We need to unlearn those ideas that's not what it means. We are resilient. We have persevered. We will continue to do so. And we need to be intentional about the work, intentional about how we're viewing ourselves and what things that we need to change and reevaluate, taking time to reevaluate those terms we talked about and look at things from a different light. And building as a Black woman, we want to build the woman that we want to be and not what society tells us we need to be. We want to break those stereotypes. When we are presenting ourselves, we want to present who we're presenting, who we're wanting to present. And so those expectations of us that we're not supposed to experience pain or we don't need anything and it's all about just everybody and taking care of people, that once again is not sustainable. So we need to release all of that. Let it go. Let's let it go today. Let's be strong in a different way. Let our strength lie in the fact that yes, we are amazing. Yes, we wear our hats, our many hats. We have roles within our roles. But yes, that self-care is important. Yes, making sure that we're good is important. Yes, we don't have to, walk around being a person that presents something, but inside is suffering and feeling like I can't let it out. I can't express it. We don't have to do that because we don't understand that a lot of what we're feeling, there are people just like us feeling similar things. And if we're all walking around, holding it in, internalizing everything, we can't grow. We can't grow as a people. We can't grow as women. We can't. We're going to be stuck in that. And so I'm just challenging you all today to look at how we're using strong Black woman. We're not superhuman. And that S on our chests, it comes with a lot. And so just being aware of who we are, that we feel, that we experience joy, love, pain, and that's okay. And so we know what it's time for, our weekly reflection activity. So today's reflection activity, and for this session, related to wearing our many hats, what we talked about is the idea of self-care. And I'm so excited because one of our sessions, our last session, we're going to really focus on how we look at self-care and what do we really do, give examples. And so we're going to really highlight the idea of self-care. But for today, because of this idea of the strong Black woman not wanting to care for herself or balance self-care with caregiving and with being there for others, our journal prompt today is going to be creating the first step, a radical self-care plan. So that self-care plan is going to focus on you. A lot of times when we make our list of things we're going to do in the day or the week or the month, they involve other people. And there is nothing, once again, wrong with that. I never want to present as though the idea that it's not a great thing of taking care of others. But when I say radical, I mean it make it all about you. And that, you're going to make sure that no matter what is happening in your day, you're going to adhere to your needs. So we're going to create our self-care plan. We're going to try, and I really want you to try. So grab your, you have your journals. I want you to write it out, think about it. And the step to thinking about it is really reflecting on what you're needing, what you're missing, what you're not doing. So in order for you to make changes and to adhere to your needs, you have to do some reflection. And that's why it's reflection activity. You're going to think about what areas do you need to improve on in terms of self-care? Like, what are you not doing for yourself? How have you skipped over yourself? How are you, or where's your cup? Is your cup getting to the point where there's almost nothing in it? Is it completely empty? Reflect on that. Think about these past, I'm telling you to do this for 7 days. Think about the prior 7 days. So think about what you've been doing that hasn't really worked, and how are you approaching burnout? Think about those things, reflect on it. That's how you're going to create a plan. You got to know what you're missing in order to know what you need to do. So try this for at least 7 days, this plan. Remember, radical self-care keeps us physically and psychologically healthy and fit. So we don't want to just be fit in the body, we want to be fit in the mind. We want to make sure that the more that we are caring for ourselves, that like, we just are, we're strong in that. When we're caring for ourselves and we're making sure that we're good and that we are adhering to our needs, that we're fit that way, we're strong that way. And that's very important. And I know a lot of times, even when we think about like our maternal caregivers, grandmothers, I think back to my grandma, and I don't know that I saw her doing anything for herself, but I thought she was strong. I thought this woman was one of the strongest ladies I've ever met. And I associated her with strong, but I don't know that I ever saw her a day doing anything for herself. I did see her, however, she would do her hair roller. She did that all the time, wash her hair. So that was her self-care thing I would see, but never just saying, oh, I want to do something for me. And I never witnessed that. I didn't. But yet I grew up thinking this woman is so strong, but never saw her do everything for everyone else. And never for herself, and watch sometimes the sadness in her eyes, the exhaustion, but just keep going the next day. So we want to be radical about this idea of just caring for self. So here's an example. Whenever I give you a prompt, something to do for a reflection, I show you the example of how to do it. So here's mine. This is something that I literally do, and I've built to get here. This was not an overnight. I had to assess and evaluate what I'm eating. So I say wake up by 6 a.m. each day. So for the next 7 days, this is something that I would do. It's something I'm already doing, but that I would do. 6 a.m. Sometimes for me earlier, but that's my time. That's at the latest that I want to get up. I like to wake up to a quiet home that is dark. The peace and the still of the quiet and the darkness is just something for me that I feel my best. I talked to you earlier about doing a self check-in, checking on how's my body feeling, what's going on mentally, emotionally, asking myself questions, what do I need? I don't want you to think of this as this arduous. Now, this is mine, but if you choose self-care check-ins, I don't want you to think of it like, I don't have time to do all that. It's like too much. This is a minute. This is literally a minute or two. This is not a long time. And I stretch because I'm laying down all night long. So sometimes just moving my body, getting the blood flowing, I just need to do that. So this is me taking time, because I will absolutely take as much time as possible for family, for my work. I do. But this is important for me, for my plan for me. Pray and I read my daily devotional every day, like in the dark. I'm doing this in the morning time. As long as, I'm feeling okay, I'm making sure that I'm taking this quiet time and doing this. This sets the tone for me for my day. And it is specifically for me. When I'm feeling like I did these 3 things so far, before everyone gets up, I just feel like I can really take hold of my day. Exercise, move my body daily. So sometimes you're not able to go for a walk. Maybe the weather's bad or you don't have equipment. Sometimes it's just moving, jumping jacks, stretching. Of course, if you're physically well to do it, move your body. Just keep moving. Get those endorphins moving. It feels good. So that's something that I do. I try to every day just move in some way. Sometimes formal exercise, and sometimes it's just, you could dance, just move your body. Then making sure that no matter how busy I get, that I am eating my 3 healthy meals per day. That breakfast, lunch, dinner. This is for me. Some people don't eat all 3 meals. This is my plan. This is important to me that I have to eat. I feel my best when I'm nourished. I'm a lover of fruits and veggies, so I'm making sure that that's in my food. I'm making sure that I don't feel so pressed with time and running around that ultimately I can't feed myself. That's not strength. To say I did 12 tasks today, but I'm hungry. Can't work for me. Read 5 pages of something that feeds my purpose and passion. And so I tell people who want to read that, like, I know our days are busy sometimes. Don't create this grandiose task and say, I try to read. I hear so many people say it to me, but I just can't do it, or I forget, or I fall asleep. I'm choosing 5 pages. I'm starting there. Just 5 pages. Even if I want to break it up, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 1 before bed, whatever it is. And then I will build on that. So 5 for me is doable. Maybe that's not a lot to someone else. This is my self-care plan. You create your own, but this is something that for me, that I want to do for me. Making sure at night by 9, Phone is off. Do not disturb. I don't want to be on my phone. I've been on my phone all day long. I need my brain to relax. I need the blue lights down, and I need to work on just resting and focusing. And then the idea of writing down 3 things I'm grateful for at bedtime. This is my plan. This is something that I want to do. You might decide, I like that idea, but I'll do it earlier, or I won't do it at bed. Whatever your plan is, you're creating this plan. It's just for you. So I am today challenging you to create a self-care plan, a radical one, make it all about you. And I hope that some of the ideas today and the conversation that we had touches you, that you're inspired to do something different or look at something in a different way. And wear your hats, wear your many hats, but making sure that you are making sure that you are taking care of yourself. So, as always, and I just said take care of yourself, but I will reiterate this. You take care of yourself, take care of each other. See the order of that, and be well. And I'll see you soon for next time. Bye-bye.